If you're watching this on YouTube, what this series is going to be is just a boring, plain Jane, nothing crazy, no speedrun, no hack, no nothing like that. Just average run-of-the-mill Super Mario World. Because this is probably my favorite game of all time. Yeah. I got this game when I was a kid, and I played it to death. I remember as a kid, the first night that I ever stayed up longer than I was supposed to. I stayed up literally all night and played this game. I'm gonna have to get used to the controls again, because it feels wonky. It feels like Mario's like floaty, if that makes any sense. And it has been a long time since I've played, so. Fortunately, I'm pretty sure that I remember all 96 exits pretty easy. I mean, for anybody that's not a Mario buff, on this game, every level is essentially, on the overworld, it's either a yellow or a red color, and Mario walks on top of it and enters the level through there. Now, if the color is yellow, that means that there is one possible way to finish the level. Usually that way is a gold tape, and I'll show you the gold tape here in a second. We're coming up to it here. Essentially, that means there's only one way to win, and that is by running through the gold tape. If it is a red color, then that means there are more than one ways to win. Now, it doesn't indicate if there's 2, 3, 7, 14, doesn't matter. It just means that the gold tape is not the only way to win. There's the gold tape right there. So once you go through the goal, if you actually hit the tape, you get a numerical score. And up there near my power-up, that 0 up there will change, and you'll actually get a numerical value. Once you run over 100, you actually get a special level, like a bonus stage. What this level actually is called a Switch Palace. So you may have seen in the previous level, there was a couple of boxes that were outlined in yellow. Those are actually yellow blocks, which you get by going through Switch Palaces. Once you've completed the Switch Palace, like so, it tells you the yellow dotted outlines will turn into yellow blocks. Those yellow blocks actually have mushrooms in them. All of them will. There are 5, if I'm not mistaken. 4 or 5. Yellow, green, blue, pink. I think that's it. Just 4. The green ones actually have feathers in them, and the blue and the pink don't have anything in them. Now, being that this was my first game ever as a kid that I remember playing, well, that's not true. So the first game that I remember playing when I was a kid is actually Donkey Kong Country. My father actually got a hold of a Super Nintendo for Christmas one year, and it came bundled with Donkey Kong Country. And that was the only game that I remember playing before I got into video games. That was the only game that I remember playing with my dad. My dad thought that Grand Theft Auto was funny. You know, he watched my brother and I play games, but he didn't really play them. Donkey Kong was one of the games that he actually played with me, so that was pretty cool. Once I got this game, I was infatuated with it. I would say this is probably the game that got me into video games. For some reason, this game was, I don't know, it was just super enticing. I loved it, every bit of it. I couldn't get away from it. Like I said, I stayed up one night, literally all night. And I remember my dad, at the time he was getting us up for school, he came in there and he was just like, you're still up? And I was like, yeah. He was like, what are you doing up? And I was like, playing Mario. I literally stayed up all night, left my Super Nintendo on, loved it, every bit of it. And this was actually one of the only games that I remember getting extremely upset with. I remember throwing my Super Nintendo controller into the small dresser that I had as a kid. I remember just slamming the controller into it as hard as I could. Yeah, this game can be very infuriating, which I'm sure we'll see in the later levels. It gets kind of tedious. So now the biggest advantage to getting the Switch Palaces, like I showed you earlier, is you actually create a lot of safe paths for yourself. As you saw, there were a bunch of yellow blocks underneath me. If I hadn't got the Switch Palace, then I could potentially fall off and die. You know what? Thinking about this, thinking about what I'm saying while I'm playing this game, I wonder if there is actually anybody out there that's never witnessed this game. Be interesting. This game came out in what, 91 or 92? No, it can't be right. I think it was a little later than that. So we haven't even been introduced to it was 1990. We haven't even seen any feathers yet. But flower, that's, you know, pretty standard up until this point of Mario. Rip. I always liked getting the star and then just getting a 1-up off of it. Which is not very hard to do, especially in this section, but you know, when my jumping skills aren't up to par, kind of ruins everything. So now, see how it's giving me the points there? So once we hit 100, we'll actually go through a bonus stage. Yoshi isn't allowed in Bowser's castles. Now, one of the things that I thought was super cool when I was a kid was punching the Koopas behind these screens. I always thought that was just fucking hilarious. And I remember being able to hit them one by one, and whenever you punch them and hit them on the head, I would rack up just as many extra lives as I could possibly rack up. Because technically you haven't touched the ground, so you can just keep going. See, we'll get this one here. Ran out of Koopas. Interestingly, I've always wanted to speedrun this game just because I love the game so much. But I quickly realized that speed strats anger me, simply put. It's very hard. It is a hard game. I always have respect for anybody that can speedrun this game. This and Super Mario 64. I don't understand how anybody speedruns that game with that fucking camera. It's got to be insane. Alright, so here's the first level with a red dot. So there's 2 exits to this level. The first exit is going to be a gold tape. Second exit is actually a key. Now in Super Mario World there are gold tapes, keys, orbs, and it seems like something else. So we want this guy because if he's got a flashing cape, that actually means he owns a feather. And if he has a feather, then we lose it as soon as we get it. God damn it. Are you fucking kidding me? Yep. He's worth it, trust me. Go in the tunnel! There used to be a pattern to this. But I don't remember the pattern at all. Something like you could read it from left to right or something like that. So the first one would always be the one on the left or some crazy shit. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do... yeah. I don't know if Yoshi's going to be back over here yet. Fuck. Doesn't matter now. So as you can see... oh, he is. Okay, we're going to keep him then. So you see how the green outline right there... those are actually for the Green Switch Palace, and the Green Switch Palace actually comes after this level. So the intended strat that Nintendo wants you to take is to go into this level, and then they want you to have to come back to it after you've gotten the Green Switch Palace. We're gonna mess with that a little bit here. We're just gonna use Yoshi to fly straight up and go through there. I always thought the key sound was like fucking amazing. So, 2 exits. What I'm going to do to make sure I don't forget any exits is beat the level the way that it's supposed to be played. Damn it. I'm going to beat the level, and then if it's got 2 exits, I want to go back and do all the exits possible. Otherwise, I'm going to forget, and then I'll spend like 3 hours searching for which exit I missed. And that's not fun at all. Okay. So now we start with nothing. We don't have Cape, we don't have Yoshi. Mario's dead inside. This was actually the first game that the cape was ever used or introduced in. And it's got some broken abilities. You can pretty much just do whatever you want if you have the cape. Coincidentally enough, a lot of speedrunners created a category just no cape, which is pretty insane. So this is our first cave level. this cave does have a red dot, so that means it does have two exits on here. So that's actually a small glitch that you can do, where if you toss an item up while it's inside a block, something along the lines the game thinks there should be a block there when there's not, and it puts you a block there. And usually it has just random things inside. There's a couple of different places where like speedrunners have come up with a strat to pretty much spawn wings, and you use Yoshi to exit the level even faster than normal, which is really fucking cool. So right here there's a there's a strat where there's a key up there. So what we're gonna do is actually take this blue shell. Just gonna use it to we're gonna use that to make our vine appear. And we got our secret exit. Now this secret exit should take us to the Green Switch Palace. So there's a way to get a free life. You can also just let the Koopa shell fall, and the small Koopa will kill it. I accidentally, you know, fell. Because I am master of this game. So now, like I said, all of your green outlined blocks will be colored in with green boxes that have feathers inside. So like, we'll see if we can do it here. Nope. Sometimes it can be an actual difficult trick to pull off. Hopefully I can get another feather out of this over here. Rip. Nope. God damn it. And auto-scrollers are the worst thing in the world. They're boring, slow. Oh, okay. You gotta keep yourself entertained somehow. Alright, so that was both exits for that. So that actually should take us to the ghost house. Now, the tricky part to this game is the fact that your levels are either yellow or red, and they show you if you have one exit or two exits. The tricky part comes in whenever you have ghost house. Some ghost house actually have two different exits. Both of the ghost house that are on the overworld at this moment have two different exits. So we're gonna go and we're gonna do this level first. As you saw, it did have two different exits, so we're gonna probably do the keyhole first, and then we'll go through and we'll do the other one. Now that pea balloon, you will get to see plenty of it, unfortunately, in a level later on in the game called Tubular, which is probably the level that I hate the most out of this game. Since I was a kid, it has always given me the most trouble. And oddly enough, before I started streaming back in January, actually, the first thing that I did to prepare myself for streaming was actually beat this game again. For whatever reason, I automatically just assumed I was going to start speedrunning whenever I started streaming, and that was the first thing that I did, was play this game. Now, whenever I played through this game back in January, it wasn't on camera or anything crazy like that. I literally played it, and the level Tubular that I talked about hating so much, it didn't give me too much of an issue, but I do get stuck there sometimes. And you'll see why. You'll see me rage at it, I'm sure. Now, if for some reason there are some people that are watching this that have not experienced this game in all of its form and glory, I definitely encourage you to look up AGDQ, SGDQ. Any year is a great year to watch this. Every year they always do something crazy with it. I don't remember exactly which year it was, but one year, I mean, they rewrote the code in the game at one point to have a level editor inside of it. You could literally make your own Mario level inside of a Super Nintendo cartridge, which is absolutely insane. So I definitely encourage anybody that has not seen that to go look at it. You should definitely look up the credits warp to this game. They talk about the power-ups that actually show up in that little blue box at the top. They actually talk about how if you manipulate the power-ups that you have, then you can actually make the game do really crazy stuff. There's a glitch where if Yoshi and Mario grab the same coin at the same time, then you can make the game do crazy things. You can make the game spawn a cloud for you. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that you can do with this game. It's very, very broken. I haven't learned any of those tricks myself, but it's super, super entertaining to watch. So what I just did there is I went back to a level that I had already previously beaten. If you press start and select on a level at any point in time, you can actually exit the level. It doesn't make you play through it again. So this is our first ghost house that we've played so far. Right off the bat, you can see that there's a secret. Now, this is actually the secret exit to the level. And when I was a kid, I did not know about this secret exit forever. This was one of the secret exits that haunted me when I was a kid. And when I finally figured out that it was there, it was mind-blowing. Because the level that you get by completing this level is such a huge help if you need it. So as you can tell, Nintendo, you know, they don't give a fuck whenever they make their secrets. You know, it doesn't look good at all. It doesn't look classy. It looks ugly as shit. But literally, so you got flowers, feathers, and Yoshi. Now, what happens whenever you already have a Yoshi and you hit a Yoshi egg? You get a 1-up. So you can literally just infinite life if you want to. It's kind of cool. So now Yoshi's not allowed in Ghost House, so we're just going to breeze past through this. I'm going to try to look cool, you know, and do all kinds of flashy tricks and get myself killed. So now what actually happens there, the room, it's a trick room. Whenever you go in, you get a P-switch. The P-switch, it unlocks, I'm pretty sure it has a P door to it, but it doesn't actually take you anywhere. It just takes you back into the same level, and you literally just loop constantly. So the trick is to actually don't trust the P-switch and go through the door again, which actually puts you below, on that little platform in the first room, and in that box, or in the turn block, is actually a vine, and that's what actually lets you complete the level. So this donut house is actually called Donut Secret House. This is the one we got for beating that water level. This house actually also has 2 exits. One exit is very, very important to a speedrunner, and the other exit is important to somebody who wants to, I don't know, beat the game relatively quick, but they don't want to take the fastest route. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. That's a smart thing to say. Hello, door. Oh no, we don't want that. Well, yeah, we can. We'll use it as our backup. Now there, also, if you hit select, it actually gives you your power-up that's in your power-up bank. I don't know if that's what it's actually called or not, but that's what I've always called it. It actually drops that for you, and you get to swap them. Oh, I should have used that. That's cool. So we're going to do the secret exit first. And no judgment. I had to have the P-switch. Forgot. So the way that this is supposed to work, I'll actually show you the intended way. You get this, you think, oh, I'm going to go through that door. If you actually hit that, you get a cool vine. Now you do have to be fast because P-door does show up. Once you get through here, basic boss fight. You just hit him 3 times. It has the same pattern every single time. What's actually funny is a lot of people use this as a boss in a lot of ROM hacks, and they have manipulated it very, very well. There's a lot of really interesting ways that people have taken that fight. Most recently, Dram 2 came out, and they make it not so easy. Let's just say it that way. So there's one exit. Actually takes you to Star World, which is actually a pretty much like the special world. I can't call it that because there's actually such thing as the special world in this game, but it's just like a world that, yeah, it only has 5 levels, and each level has 2 exits. And if you complete them the intended way, you actually don't get past the level. You have to complete them with the key, every single one of them. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, if you actually take this door, you actually don't go anywhere until it brings you back to the room. The way that you're supposed to do this is actually by going through the P door. I can't remember where that other door takes you. I haven't went that route in years. Pretty sure it just loops you back to that door in the corner on the left-hand side.